Welcome everybody back to Friar Talk. Today we're gonna be talking about Ha-Seong Kim, and it's gonna be a little bit different episode than I think we've ever done before. We're gonna have a full out debate. So Chase is gonna be pro keeping Ha-Seong Kim. Isaac is gonna be for trading him. They're gonna give their pieces. I might ask a couple questions. I'm gonna be the judge, and at the end of the episode, I'm gonna decide. I'm not looking at anything. I don't have any Kim stats up. I don't have anything up like that. I'm just gonna hear out their takes, and based on that, we're gonna decide: does Ha-Seong Kim need to be traded before opening day? Um, Not the Padres opening day because they play in Korea, and everyone seems to be like, "Oh no, we can't trade Kim because we have the Korea series." Because the Korea series, the series in Seoul is about a week before the actual season starts. They can have him for those 2 games and trade him right before the season. That's very realistic to happen because most of those trades that happen right before the season happen like a couple days before the season. As we remember in 2022, the Padres did that. They acquired a bunch of guys right like the day before. And that's like a lot of times where you see those trades. You either see them before spring actually starts, right at the beginning of spring, or towards the very end of spring training. So we're kind of talking about him after the Seoul series, before the true opening day of baseball. But with that said, Chase, kick it off. Why do the Padres need to keep Kim?
Well, one, we don't have a lot of money to replace Kim with, and there's no guarantee for the people that we trade Kim for MLB ready prospects that can provide any sort of value to what Kim would create for the Padres. I mean, last year he had, let's see, I believe it was nearly a 5 WAR season, if not 5 WAR. He did a 4.4 according to Fangraphs, and then according to Baseball Reference, it's probably higher because Baseball Reference always is a little bit different. Secondly, he's the best defender probably in all of baseball when it comes to the infield. His bat has only been getting better each year. One, he brings in a huge fan base. He always gets the team going. He's kind of the heart and soul of the team, along with Tatis. His bat has been getting better and better each year. His numbers have increased and increased each year. If you get rid of him, that means you probably have to slide Cronenworth over to second. And then who's going to play first? We don't really have a first baseman. Well, you can argue, hey, you know what? We have Jackson Merrill. Well, then who's going to play left field? We are not really in a good position to trade Kim for prospects. We need MLB ready talent, and if we do get MLB ready talent, it's not going to be comparable to what Kim could possibly do for the Padres. We already don't really have a DH. Our DH at the beginning of the year is going to be Machado because he can't throw. But after that, who's our DH going to be? We haven't signed another first baseman. We don't have a DH. We don't have a left fielder, and we don't have enough prospects that are ready in the MLB to supply that talent that Kim already has and has only continuously gotten better throughout his years as a Padre. So I just don't think right now it makes sense, especially at the beginning of the year. Sure, if some guys start to come up and show their worth, maybe you can trade them then. But at the beginning of the year, the Padres are in no position to replace Kim with guys that we're just simply we can only afford cheap talent, and we have too many holes right now to replace him with the money that we have allotted to the rest of free agency for a left-handed pitcher, left fielder, DH, and possibly a platoon first baseman.
Now, obviously, I'm for trading Ha-Seong Kim. He's under contract this year. Obviously, he's going to be $7 million in 2024 with a mutual option in 2025. The mutual option usually does not get exercised. We know in this case, of course, the Padres are going to be like, "Oh, of course we want to keep you." Well, Ha-Seong Kim's not sticking around for $7 million, and we know that. He's a very valuable player. Posted a 4.4 WAR on Fangraphs, and Chase, you're right, because on Baseball Reference they do value defense a lot more. He posted probably like over a 5 WAR on Baseball Reference. Now, defense is, of course, a very valuable thing. However, you look at he is probably the best infielder, one of the best infielders in baseball, but the best defensive player on our team won a platinum glove, 26 defensive runs saved. He's in the outfield right now. He is probably a more marketable player than Ha-Seong Kim. And I know a lot of people's argument is, Ha-Seong Kim is a very marketable player. People love him, yada, yada, yada. People love Fernando Tatis Jr. People love Manny Machado. People love Joe Musgrove. People love Yu Darvish, so on and so forth. So it's not like people are going to stop coming to the ballpark. They already sold out all their tickets, whatever it is. People will continue to come to the ballpark because the guy everyone really wants to see is Fernando Tatis Jr. People that aren't Padres fans like us, they come to the ballpark to see Tatis, Machado, Bogarts, et cetera, et cetera. Now, I pulled up some of his stats, and he had a great season. Right? At the plate, for most of the season, he was fantastic. You look at September, he hit 184 with under a 600 OPS. Arguably, after October, the most important month in baseball, September. You look at his career against our top competitor in the Dodgers. In his career against the Dodgers, he has a 611 OPS. A 611 OPS. And hey, maybe that's the case for quite a few of the Padres, right? They're not that good against the Dodgers, but he's significantly struggled against them. I brought up the mutual option, but a question I would have for you guys is, if the Padres made Ha-Seong Kim available, who is a more desirable trade piece in the MLB than Ha-Seong Kim? Look at what Jorge Polanco got the Twins. I don't know if they're good players, but he got them like 5 or 6 players. I don't know if they're good players again, but is Jorge Polanco more desirable than Ha-Seong Kim? I don't think so. I don't think it's even close. I think Polanco posted a 2 WAR. Ha-Seong Kim just posted a 4.4 WAR and a 4 WAR the season before. He's accumulated like a 9.1 F WAR in the past, 2 years. He's mega valuable, man. He's an amazing player. But if you're looking at guys that, hey, if we're not going to necessarily compete this year, why not get guys that not only can help us this year, but maybe the next? They did it with Soto. Maybe they should do it with Kim as well. So I'm on team trade Ha-Seong Kim. I know the Korea series, it's kind of conflicting. A lot of people want to keep him because of that. Remember, it's only 2 games. Now, maybe they'll keep him just for the Korea series and then entertain trading him after, but I don't really think it's worth it. If you're going to trade him, just trade him. That Korea series is going to sell out no matter what. People want to go watch Shohei. People want to go watch Yamamoto, etc. And I know they're not. I don't know. I don't know what leagues they each played in. I'm pretty sure the latter 2 played in the Japanese league, whereas Kim played in the KBO. But either way, that series is going to sell out no matter what because of the names that are on these teams outside of Ha-Seong Kim. So if you're going to trade him, trade him. I don't think the Korea series is a valid argument to keep him. That's my stance on it. Yeah.
Going back to the whole Polanco thing, Polanco has a 2-year, he's there for 2 years and potentially a third. He is worth another $3 million more than Ha-Seong Kim. Yeah, you're right. Trading him, you could potentially get a few guys, but like I said, are those few guys going to help us right now immediately? Probably not. Who knows how good those guys that we traded or they got traded for Polanco for are going to be any good. We've seen multiple times that the prospects we trade for major league talent, they don't always pan out. So why do it now? And plus, kind of need him. I mean, yeah, he struggled against the Dodgers and he struggled in September, but those are 2 months. I mean, we've had multiple players last year go through way worse slumps than that, and Ha-Seong Kim was one of the only reasons that this team was afloat. He was one of the best leadoff hitters in all of baseball, and having Kim lead off with Machado and Bogarts and Tatis to follow kind of puts you in a lot better of a position to score more runs, which we were catastrophic last year, to say the least. We were one of the worst teams in MLB history with runners in scoring position, but we put ourselves in positions to actually score. We just going to get those runs in. I mean, X had a down year after the first few months. Machado went through slumps. Tatis went through a slump. I think even Tatis went through a slump in September, or it was in August. He went through one of the worst slumps that he had. It was he had a 511 OPS. He was just really unlucky. He came back through September. Everybody goes slump. I don't think 1 month is really worthy to say that, yeah, he struggled, but all of our guys struggled at one point. And I think we don't really have a solidified leadoff hitter. If he's gone, yeah, you can go X, but with his nagging wrist injury, we saw what happened when his wrist was hurting and how it really affected his bat and how many ground balls and ending double plays that he hit into. I think we really just need a solidified bat. He gets his walks, he can steal a base, he puts himself into scoring position to the point where any prospect that we get is not going to be worth what Kim is. If you want to trade him at the deadline, I would argue that's probably the most valuable time to trade him. If you're going to trade him, you're going to get him when he's still relatively fresh. Depending on the season he has, he's going to be worth more. Depending on which injuries occur in the MLB, you would get even more bang for your buck then than you would trading him now. So I would agree to trade him at the trade deadline if you're not in a position to win. But right now, I don't see a point into it.
Okay, I like that you bring that up because I was going to ask about that. One is, does the trade deadline make more sense? But also, it was rumored that if Kim was to get extended, he would get extended for around 150 million. I'm assuming that's like 6-year contract, right? What's that? That sounds in my head. That seems right, AAV wise. So, one, is that something that the Padres are going to be willing to do? And two,
it's 25 million.
You brought up the deadline. You brought up the deadline to keep him, and you're saying that you think that he would garner close to the same amount. What do we? Why is that? Like, because for Polanco's deal, right? I looked up. It's 4 guys they got, and Polanco has this year and next year. I think he makes 10 years or 12 mil this year. Next year he has a club option for 10 million. Probably going to accept that. He's like a year older than Kim. You're getting him for 2 years. If you trade him at the deadline, so if you're holding him right now, are you going to be able to get close to that? Is it better if you trade him now, or is extending him an option too? Because that's where you're looking at the future with him. Okay, if you don't trade him, what happens? Is it way worse? Does it close kind of some doors for you? Isaac, you can lead it off.
I don't know. It seems like trading him at the deadline, we're already kind of concluding that we're going to be out of it by the deadline. If we're in it by the deadline, he's not getting traded. If he's still on the team by then, he's not going anywhere. He's going to stay until the end of the season, and we're going to use him until then. And that also probably means he was valuable to the team in some sort of way, right? If they are in it by then. Now, keep in mind that they are only projected for 75, 76 wins, and that's only a projection. Last year, they were projected for like damn near 100, and they won 84, and they were terrible. So, honestly, even though it's only 1 year, I think the fact that whoever gets him is going to be thinking, well, this isn't just a 1-year commitment. This is a commitment where we can see us signing him for the long term. He's still a young player. He's probably going to get 25 or 22 to 25 million per year. So I do think that a team is not going to see him as a short-term investment and give up short-term prices. I think they're going to give up a lot because they think of him as a long-term investment. So I do think he can get us pretty close, if not more than what Polanco got the Twins, because Ha-Seong Kim is a much more valuable piece. I think Polanco posted a 2 WAR last year. Correct me if I'm wrong, but Ha-Seong Kim 2 years in a row has posted a 4 WAR, one of the best gloves in all of baseball. And you think of the suitors, man. I was writing down the suitors earlier. The Brewers probably are not going to be a suitor anymore, considering it looks like they're not trying to compete. But the Blue Jays are a suitor. The Giants, the Mariners, the Cubs, the Marlins, the Red Sox. There are so many suitors out there for Ha-Seong Kim. And then you think of other teams like the Braves, whoever else there is, right? And there's a ton of them. And he's a very sought out, highly desirable piece for any team out there. And then you look at his stats and you say, hey, these are some pretty damn good stats, right? And Chase, you're right. Absolutely an amazing leadoff hitter. With no one on and no outs, he had a 936 OPS. Fantastic, right? With runners in scoring position, he had a 667 OPS. With runners in scoring position, 2 outs, 508 OPS. So with no guys on and at the beginning of the game, he is a stellar talent. He is amazing to have up there. But then you look at the guys with runners in scoring position and you realize this is one of the guys that contributed to that issue. And it wasn't just Ha-Seong, it was damn near everyone. Manny for sure. Xander 100%.
It was everyone. Last year was just
Xander for
last
sure.
year was a story.
If there was a stat, I'm pretty sure he did end up grounding out to the most double plays. But inning-ending double plays, Xander Bogaerts probably leads your team, if not the league. He was horrible. And so, yeah, you know, back to Ha-Seong Kim. I'm not saying that the trade's not going to hurt. The trade wouldn't hurt. It would hurt me too. I really like Ha-Seong Kim. I think he's a great player. The Soto trade hurt too. But it was a trade that had to be done. This one doesn't have to be done. It's only $7 million, and it's for a guy that, quite frankly, easily surpasses that value. But if you can get a lefty pitcher out of him, if you can get an outfielder out of him, if you can get both of those out of him, you know, whatever you can get, you at least have to entertain the fact that, hey, this is a very arguably the guy that can get the most pieces in a trade on our team and maybe in the league right now. You have to entertain it, and you have to be willing to listen to other teams and not just say, and not just be on the side of, well, the Korean series is going to bring us a lot of money, let's not trade him, or we still got another year, let's just keep him. If you're realistically seeing that you might not be able to compete this year, and you're on the fence of competing and not competing, I think you should just trade him.
I don't think the Padres have an option to not compete, though. That's been their whole branding right now is we are competitors. We are going to try and put the best team out there. And the best team out there for the Padres is going to be putting Ha-Seong Kim out there in the infield. There was a stat basically showing any time that anytime a player has come to a team, the later it is within the off season or later it isn't within spring training, they are going to struggle with said team that much longer. Look at Manny Machado's first year. He struggled heavily, and he signed in what was it, the end of January, beginning of February? That it has been shown that every single time a player joins a team, the later they join the team, the more they're going to struggle that first year. So at this point, even if we trade him right now, the player that we get will probably struggle. Every person who comes to the Padres already struggles enough as it is, throwing them into a brand new season to adjust to the hitting coaches that obviously don't really work for the Padres, at least. You're just setting yourself up for even more of a failure. How many guys have been traded to the Padres within their first year and instantly continued to be the same player? Juan Soto didn't. Brandon Drury took a while to get used to it. Josh Bell wasn't the same hitter. Garrett Cooper had all right numbers. Which hitter has been traded to the Padres and has continued to do what he does?
Well, shoot. No, that's a great question. I completely agree with you. There's no hitters that I can think of off the top of my head that have come over here and immediately produced great numbers. That if your stat is correct, shoot, that means Ha-Seong Kim's going to struggle with the other team too. It's not a complete
that doesn't help us either.
Now,
it depends. If he goes to the AL, that doesn't do anything for us.
That's true. Now, shoot, I forgot what I was going to say. But what I was thinking was, like, we're in a position right now where Ha-Seong Kim, he's not going to make or break our year. I don't think he's going to make or break our season. He didn't make or break our season last year. We weren't winning while he was putting up great numbers last year. We're not winning with his amazing defense. We haven't been doing that. Our season is going to depend on, can we get another pitcher and can we get two valuable outfielders? You extended Jake Cronenworth to a 7-year deal. Now, you're locked in. You can't do anything about that. No one wants him. You signed him to be a second baseman. That's the thing. You can. Yeah, you can. But you signed him to be a second baseman, and you moved him to a position that requires power. He doesn't have that. It's the most home runs he's hit is like 22. After that, he has not surpassed 20. So you're immediately decreasing someone else's value that you have already signed to a long-term deal in favor of someone that's only going to be around for another year. I can almost guarantee he's going to go somewhere else. We're not re-signing him. We don't have the money to re-sign him. And what a lot of people always complain about is that we sign players at their peak. That's what we did with Jake Cronenworth. That's what we did with Xander Bogaerts. A lot of people complain that we sign players at their peak. We have seen Ha-Seong Kim's peak. I think this is his peak. I think this is as good as he gets. Are you guys paying 20-something million for a 750 OPS? The 4-WAR is great, but does the 4-WAR really contribute to what the Padres need right now, considering how bad their offense has been and how bad they were the runners in scoring position and so on and so forth? The glove is great. Again, hey, I love the glove, but the Padres had a great ERA last year. They had a great defense last year, and it got them 84 wins. Clearly, the need is for offense. So maybe he is worth that money, but he doesn't fit what the Padres need. So an extension to me should be out the window. Great player, great market to he brings in a great market, a huge market. But he's not, I don't think he fits what we need right now. So I don't know. In my opinion, the easiest move is moving him if you get the right deal. I'm not saying you have to move him, but if you do get an overwhelming package, you got to take it, because I don't believe that you keep a guy just because of a series or just because of his peak in a certain time frame, because that time frame outlasts what he did his rookie year. It wasn't, I mean, he was getting adjusted, but he wasn't that good his rookie year. For a span, I think he had like what, 720 OPS in 2022. I don't know what it was. It was something along those lines. That's not that great. He had a 750 OPS this year. So outside of a really like a 3-month time frame, he's been a 700 OPS-ish player, and he hasn't amassed 20 home runs. So, I mean, again, he's a great player, man. Defensively, he'll fit a team that needs a Gold Glover. I'll say that. A team that already has sluggers from top to bottom, he'll fit that team, but we don't have that. We have Tatis and Manny. Outside of that, we have no sluggers. So we need sluggers, man, and he doesn't fit that mold. So I'm in favor. I'm definitely in favor of it. Now, again, I like him a lot. He's a cool player. He's a fun player. But trading a player at their peak has been what people have wanted for so long. It seems like people wanted to do that with Jake. So now that the opportunity arises for a guy that is probably the most sought-after trade piece, unlike Jake, he is the most sought-after trade piece on the market if available. I find it hard to believe that a majority don't want to do it.
See,
alrighty.
is if you trade him, you're down a first baseman and you're hoping to get one or the other in an outfielder or a starter, which you're in an awkward position where no matter what you do, you're getting a lesser talent somewhere else, and you're messing with the team's chemistry just a little bit. And I'd rather just let it ride right now and trade him at the deadline. If we don't make it, just show, hey, we're keeping the team together. It's your guys' season to lose. Give them that little bit of confidence from the front office, saying, this is your guys' last chance. If you guys want to make it this year, we're riding with the same team. We're going to get a depth DH, a depth outfielder, maybe a platoon guy. And if you guys don't do it, guess what? Kim's gone at the deadline. We're going to get damn near similar package out of him because he's going to be a sought-after piece from some sort of contender. And guess what? We'll try again next year. I'd rather do that than trade him at the beginning of the year.
All right, guys. I'm torn. I think Chase's points are really good at first, but Isaac, your whole argument on the fit on trading a guy at their peak is very fair. But then I have the side of it where it's like, I'll say this. I think ideally what would happen is you would be able to trade him at the deadline if you're not that good. And I think we all kind of agree that that might be the best spot. The only problem is that there's clearly more risk involved with that move. Like there clearly is.
More risk,
Is he
more
going to get
reward.
extended? I don't think he would. And like, even if we want him to get extended for the Padres, I don't think it makes sense.
Nope.
That's the problem.
You have to get rid of Cronenworth.
Yeah.
Mhm.
And I'm gonna say Isaac wins. Chase, I had you booked down as the winner for a while. But Isaac is 100% right. Like he doesn't they don't need him to win right now. And I think that's going to be the biggest difference is not that he's not good, not that he's going to be a really positively impactful player, but it's that they need sluggers. And also, like Chase, you brought this up, they don't need to go trade for prospects. That's not the type of trade they need to make. They need to trade him for guys that are MLB ready.
MLB
And
ready players.
what we had talked about before is like Max Kepler kind of deal, where that makes more sense. Trading for him makes a lot of sense. So I think that it makes more sense to trade him now. I also think that you would wait until after in the Korean series to trade for someone. I just think that's what would end up happening. But I do think it makes more sense to trade Kim now. This is assuming that the right deal comes along, that it's, pro-ready players, guys that are going to be impactful, whether that's a lefty starter, whether that's an outfielder. It has to be one of those two things. But if you do that, you get a power bat. It's pretty easy to find first baseman. That's the thing. Like that's the only thing is like it's pretty easy to find. Again, you sign Garrett Cooper. Like you can go and do that relatively easy. Where you're still gonna get a good amount if you trade Kim. You're gonna get a lot if you trade him. So because of that, I'm for trading him. I think it makes a little bit more sense. So dude, I think it's close though. I think this is the most like
fucking hard. Dude.
It's one of the hardest topics, right? Like it's because you can easily see both sides of it. Okay, this is why you do it. This is why you don't. And ideally, you just wait until the deadline and trade him for close to the amount, and you're like, we're trying to contend with him. But that doesn't always work out because guess what? We could have traded Josh Hader at last year's deadline, and we were like, you have to trade Josh Hader. You have to trade Josh Hader. You have to do it. And they didn't do it. That's the problem. And I feel like if they got to that spot and they're like, we didn't get the best offer we didn't want, then they'll just not do it. And it's like, well, nice.
Well, last year was a little bit of an anomaly because right before the trade deadline, we fucking swept the Rangers out of nowhere.
Oh my god,
and we're back, baby. Go, we're so 100%. Back. And then they proceeded to shit themselves.
Yep, that sucked. That fucking sucked.
If we didn't sweep the Rangers right there, we probably would have traded Hader.
I agree. Yeah. And not trading Hader was a huge letdown. I mean, sure, great talent, right? Huge letdown, though. You got like what, 54 innings out of him? Bro.
Yeah.
I loved the 2022, great move, man. But shit, this year was just considering how many times we won, it was not the move. It was not a good move.
Well, also, you could have probably got more than what you traded for him. That was the thing. They didn't really give anything up.
For it too. That was the best part. Everybody wanted to trade Hader because we were in such a low position. But no, we had to sweep the World Series champs and suddenly throw ourselves into the we're back conversation and then not really be back and throw away everything.
That happened in another year too. I want to say it was 2015, where they went on like a little hot streak before the trade deadline, and suddenly they were like, maybe we shouldn't sell, and then they fizzled out.
It might have even been different. It might have been even a different year too. There was one where they weren't that good.
2015 was like the year. 2015 was the year because we got Justin Upton, we got Matt Kemp, we traded for Will Myers, we got
James Shields.
There.
Padres.
That was 2016. That was 2016.
I don't know when it was. I just remember it.
Yeah. 2016 was it was the All-Star year.
Yeah. And I mean, again, going back to Ha-Seong Kim, you're looking at a player that's like, fuck, man, do you really want to trade a 4 WAR player, a 4.5 WAR player? Like, no, you never want to do that. I mean, he's a great player. Obviously, the players love him. Manny loves him. I'm assuming Profar is going to be back. Profar loves him. Snell loves him. And I think Not that I think he's going to be back, but he hasn't gone anywhere. So until then, I'm assuming he's going to be a Padre.
He was linked to the
They
Red
love him, man.
Sox.
What
Yeah, I mean,
what sound reasoning right there, Isaac?
so yeah, I mean, I think he's a great clubhouse guy, man. The unfortunate part of that is the business, and you know, tough decisions like that do have to be made at times, but it's not gonna feel good to see a guy like that go, right? I mean, you hear the Ha-Seong Kim chants, you hear the arguments of why he's players' favorite player, and so on and so forth. You never want to trade a guy like that. However, because of bad decisions made by the front office, you're in a position where you have to say, maybe this is the best move, right? And it's no one else's fault but AJ Preller's. Um, so you know, normally when you have a year like 2024 and 2023, you're saying, hey, we got this guy for another year or two. Let's go ahead and maximize his value now and try and win a World Series. Now, instead of that, you're saying, shit, like, we're in a bad position. We don't know if we can extend this guy. And although he's a great talent, I don't know if he fits the mold of what we need. Maybe we have to trade him. Now, of course, if you have more sluggers.
You know what we sound like right now? Fucking Oakland A's. We're not the Oakland A's anymore. The Las Vegas A's. And I hate it.
Yeah. No, I do too. We shouldn't be in this position. Really, we shouldn't be. And, you know, after Peter Seidler passed, you kind of try and make sense of 2023 and you think, well, going in, you know, the signing of Xander Bogaerts makes more sense now considering he wanted to see a World Series be won in San Diego. And now it's gonna fuck us up for another 10 more years. But
X's contract really isn't that bad. Like, it's bad, don't get me wrong. But Cronenworth is so much worse. Cronenworth messes up this whole thing just because you have him for another 7 years. He's trying to be a power hitter, and he obviously isn't. He's not the hitter that he used to. Look, I know we want power out of him, but if you could just go back to being that gap-to-gap double guy, last year's struggles would have been so much less if he was just, hey, you know what? Let me slap it into the left center gap. Let me slap it into the right center gap instead of let me pull it over the fence. No.
And you could tell his swing was so it changed. It was a different swing. Yeah. He was trying to hit for power.
I bet we see him go back to kind of where he was.
I think so too.
Because he struggled. I would be very surprised if we don't. But yeah. All right, guys. I think that's gonna do it. But let us know. What do you think? You think who won the debate, but also like what's your overall take on Kim? And you know, is there anything else that you want us to discuss? Because if you guys do, let us know. Not a whole lot of Padres stuff going on right now. Spring training right around the corner. So we're gonna be getting some more. We're gonna be picking up definitely once that happens. But we're kind of just like, hey, we only have like a topic or two every week. We can only talk about so many things, but it was fun to get a couple episodes in this week and have some longer discussions. But I think that's going to do it. So thank you all for listening. Let us know if there's anything else you want to talk about. Like, subscribe, do all that. We'll have Padres content all season long. And yeah, thanks for following. Thanks for watching. And we'll talk to y'all soon. Have a good night.